Song Revolution with John Chisum on the NRT Podcast Network.
Well, hey guys, John back with you again this week for the Song Revolution. Thanks for being here. I'm just so excited to share with you some really killer content today about how to get people to love your music. I mean, your songs aren't doing a whole lot of good imprisoned on your cell phone or in your digital audio workstation, or worse, just stuck up in your head. God's plan and His desire is that the world hear His goodness and love flowing through you and your music. And I know that you feel passionately about getting this message out, but maybe you struggle with how it really happens, and that's why I started Nashville Christian Songwriters 8 years ago to empower you as a dedicated Christian songwriter to write, record, and release your best work and impact the world for good with the best possible music that you can make. You know, we've been all about that to the point of even having a couple of Grammy nominees who started out with us, and many others who've released singles, made full albums, starred in their own videos, and amped up their worship songwriting and worship leading in their own churches. It's just mind-blowing to me what God's allowed us to do these last 7 years. And I believe that we're more equipped than ever to empower you to reach the goals and dreams that God's dropped in your heart. And the end result is that the people who hear your songs are captivated. They're blessed and moved and transformed even by God's love flowing through your life and music. You know, it's all about His purposes for you and your music, but sometimes we get it backwards and think that it's all about using our talents, which is partly true, or showing the world that we're talented, but that's actually one of the very things that may be holding you back. And we're going to explore that more in this episode in just a minute. But before we get to the insights I have to share with you today, I want to give a big shout out to my sponsor, Music City Acoustics. These guys and girls helped me to really improve the sound quality of my podcast studio. And I went after them. I just begged them to let me brag on their work and help you to vastly improve the sound quality of your home studio, your office, or church. These folks are the real deal, and they do an excellent job, much more affordably than you might imagine. I was just crazy to think that I could go to Home Depot and get wood and make frames, put in the insulation and the fabric and install panels and corner bass traps anywhere near the quality of what Music City Acoustics did for me. And they only use the highest quality materials, and their craftsmanship is top shelf. Now, I wish that you could sit here with me and hear the difference when you walk out of the hallway into my studio, and everyone who comes here immediately comments on the way all the noise just sucks in that would usually be bouncing around. It just shuts down. It's like recording in the closet, but you don't have to smell my shoes. I mean, I just can't recommend Music City Acoustics enough. And you can find them, of course, over at musiccityacoustics.com to find out exactly what they can do to improve your church, your office, your home studio, or your Winnebago. They've ended my post-production hassles, and I love to promote this awesome homegrown business right here in my hometown of Nashville, Tennessee. So check them out over at musiccityacoustics.com. And here's a cool thing. You can get a free CAD drawing of your space to see what they recommend to give you the highest quality sound experience with their amazing products. Your ears are going to be so happy that you did. Again, that's musiccityacoustics.com. They're just the best, so check them out today. All right, so here you are, a Christian songwriter or an aspiring Christian artist, just wondering how you're going to reach people with your music. And even if you do manage to get people to listen and hear what you're up to, there's that nagging question of if they'll even like it, much less be impacted and moved by it. It's the same questions that Lauren Daigle's team, Need to Breathe's team, Phil Wickham's team, and every single songwriter, artist, and communicator on the planet is wondering every time that they get an idea or sit down to write or go to the studio to start recording a song. And the question is always, will people be moved by my art and the words and melodies that I'm putting out? It's the basic question that we should all begin with each time an idea pops in our heads. And let me tell you, it requires a lot more objectivity than many Christian songwriters use when writing their songs. And I'm going to give you 3 insights today on ways that you can level up your objectivity and learn more about what it takes to get people to love your music and give you more likes and shares and streams and invite you to make your music for them and lead them in worship and inspire them with your testimony and experience to bless and heal their lives. And I just think that's got to be your end game, to bless and serve others with what you're doing. And we'll get to that as we go along in just a moment. But I want to share a little of my experience that may help to shed some light on how I've been able to write and publish over 400 songs in my career and counting. I'm actually in a fresh season of writing and releasing music like I haven't done in a lot of years, and it's feeling really good to be reactivated and re-engaged with my writing after taking 7 years off to build this company, Nashville Christian Songwriters, and serve you through the show and all the coaching and resources that we offer. You can jump over to NashvilleChristianSongwriters.com and read more about the powerful things that we offer, the coaching that we offer called NCS Pro Song Mastery. It's our 8-week online group coaching experience, or our one-on-one program, and even our new artist development program that's designed to help you build a foundation for your career in songwriting, branding, recording, and releasing your music to the world. And it's all in partnership with newreleasetoday.com. But what I'm wanting to share with you is that I've lived this journey. I came from nowhere and nothing and have been blessed to be in Christian music for 40 years now. I'm old. Now writing, recording, releasing music, and traveling over 1 million miles to many parts of the world, teaching worship, leading worship, and living out the kind of dream that God may have put in your heart. My life and ministry now are all about downloading this experience, expertise, and success to you in your songwriting and ministry. So the insights that I'm sharing with you today are insights that I've lived for 4 decades now. And I know they work, and I know they will work for you too. And you have a tremendous advantage over me because you have massive digital tools that didn't even exist 40 years ago when I was getting started in all this. So what I know from my vantage point is that you can accomplish amazing things in your life, your songwriting and ministry, if you'll just begin to incorporate these 3 insights into your mind and use them to save time, save money on the long learning curve, and step into your rightful place as a Christian songwriter and influencer. You know, that's really what we're talking about. Lauren Daigle is an influencer. The Gettys are influencers. Matthew West, Need to Breathe, Matt Maher, and on down the list of Hillsong, Elevation, Bethel. Anyone who's successful at writing and recording and releasing their songs with any significant impact are influencers. They've cracked the secret code on what it takes to focus their messaging so clearly that a lot of listeners are impacted and respond by listening, liking, sharing, streaming, and basically consuming what they're putting out. It's amazing how quickly and easily you can begin to build a platform and an audience for your music if you understand and use the insights that I want to share with you here about how to get people to love the music you put out. So, all right, enough setup. Let's get into those insights now. All right, the first is you are responsible for how you present yourself to the world. A lot of songwriters I've spoken with over the last 7 years of offering coaching through NCS are just frankly unwilling to take responsibility for their songwriting ministry and careers. They're more in love with the idea and fantasy of becoming a popular songwriter than they are in love with the work it's going to take to get there. And this results in a lot of passivity on their part where they say they're called, yet they do nothing about it. They fantasize about being discovered, but aren't putting out anything to be discovered by. My friend Chad Segura, who's the vice president of publishing for Centricity Music, said on a podcast we did last year, "Stop sending me your songs, make enough noise where you are, and I will find you." You know, that's how people like Katie Nicole get discovered. She was just doing her thing and applying herself where she was when In Jesus' Name, God a Possible went viral for her and launched her more public and visible career. If you're not doing anything significant right now, there's nothing to discover. But so many very talented writers and artists that I've encountered just don't get it. They want somebody else to come along and make something out of them. And it simply doesn't work that way, you guys. You got to be doing something worth discovering for people to buy into you and let you into their lives as an influencer. And I think that you'll be as amazed at the astounding growth that will occur when you just simply choose to be responsible for the calling you say that you have. If it's a real calling, I believe that you'll move heaven and earth to accomplish it. I know that I have, and you'll be much more willing to invest in your heart, your time, your very real money, and yourself into accomplishing what you say you want. You know, when people complain about our coaching fees, I know that they're more in the category of non-responsible dreamers than someone who's willing to pour all that they have and are into what they believe God's calling them to do. They want guarantees that just don't exist, and they want God to promise them some level of success before committing to the path. But it's faith that pleases God. And I haven't seen him reveal all the steps of success to anyone ahead of time. He just loves for us to depend on him and look to him for each step of the way. But a lot of people want the reward with no risk, and it just doesn't roll that way with God that I can see. So the first step to success in songwriting or becoming a successful Christian artist or anything worth being in life is to own it, to take responsibility for yourself and your calling. You have a deep responsibility to step out in faith and invest yourself to learn how to do what you want to do. No one that I know of just has it handed to them. So take ownership and watch the steps unfold as you seek to present yourself to the world with excellence as a Christian communicator. All right, well, the second thing is to increase your access to creativity. None of us need a clone of Lauren Daigle or Michael W. Smith or Matt Redman. We need you because you carry a unique fingerprint from God that only you can bring to the world. God's made you very uniquely with your own life's experience and your own outlook and the way you want to express yourself, your words, your melodies, your musical approach, and all that goes into making great music. I just don't think it should ever be a copycat clone kind of thing. The world needs you to tap into a much deeper place of creativity to bring out more and more unique facets of God's beauty, his character, his nature, his attributes, as, you know, he displays himself in you. I guess we all start out emulating the artist we love, but there comes a time that you need to launch out into your expressions of the divinity of God within you. It's a limitless supply of the Spirit of God. There's no end to the beauty that God would reveal through you if you just change your mindset and let go of your own human limitations to follow him into the depths of what he wants to create through you. I believe that he wants you to be a songwriting and artistic success, a mega success, 1 trillion times more than you want it, because he knows what he wants to say to everyone else through you if you'll just let him. And I think of two things that play in here. The first is that a lot of worship songwriters will say to me, well, there's just nothing to write about in worship anymore. It's all been said. But what that tells me is that this writer isn't tapping into the presence of endless creativity within themselves, the Christ that lives within them by the presence of the Holy Spirit. Wow, it just shows me that their imaginations are atrophied and they're living in a very limited mind space that really, they're just comparing themselves with others who've had some success up to this point in their writing or their artistry, instead of choosing to willfully move into a more expansive and creative place in their minds and imaginations that boldly says, God is limitless and he lives in me. I have an unlimited supply of fabulous worship ideas because God not only deserves it, but he supplies it. He's jealous for his own glory, and he flows through me in an unlimited capacity. Therefore, I have unlimited worship song ideas. Well, that also tells me that they're not reading, they're not resourcing their intellects and front loading their songs with a very rich devotional life. They probably go to church and sing 3 or 4 songs each week and maybe listen to Christian radio, but their own research into the heart of God by reading a vast array of devotional writers and a lot of Christian traditions and even poetic traditions, other faith traditions, isn't happening. And they've become really passive, lazy songwriters who just want God to download songs on them. I just strongly dislike that concept. I actually believe it's a pagan concept, and it reminds me, it's kin to what the ancient Greeks called the muse, that either showed up or didn't to inspire them. That way they could blame the muse. If it didn't show up, well, it wasn't their fault. But folks, you got to inspire yourself and tap into deeper creativity if you want to impact anyone. I'm just saying, don't be lazy. Resource your mind, your intellect, and stop living off of a depleted soul that has nothing to say. We need the most creative, unique, beautiful, and innovative thing that you can be to show us more and more of the beauty and endless variety of God's nature. I don't know if you've seen the Louis Schwartzberg movies on Netflix, but I think of his time-lapse videos of flowers opening up, and it's just marvelous. They keep revealing layer after layer of the flower as it's blooming, and it's just crazy how many layers there can be in one flower. That's a great picture to me of how God is already opening up layer after layer of himself to us, like the time-lapse flower videos. But there's just no end to what he will be revealing throughout whatever eternity really is. So to say that there's nothing left to write, to me, is nothing short of tragic for a Christian songwriter, IMHO. So getting coaching with us in any of our online coaching programs is a fantastic way to tap into your innate creativity and the presence of the Creator himself, because the demand is placed on you week after week to show up with fresh material and an up-to-the-minute experience with God instead of rehashing everything that's ever been said. You can find links in the show notes or jump over and visit with us at NashvilleChristianSongwriters.com to find out more about what we do. And but what I do in all of my coaching is encourage my clients to go deeper into God on the inside of them, to uncover the untapped, the boundless resources right at their fingertips, to write things they would never have dreamed of writing, and doing things they would never have dreamed they could accomplish with limited thinking. And I'd love to help you overcome the limitations that you feel right now to become your best and highest expression through your songwriting and artistry. It's really why I'm here, and I have a ton of fun doing it. All right, so let's recap for a minute. The first 2 insights are that you are responsible for how you present yourself to the world. And secondly, there's a deep, untapped source of creativity inside you that you've yet, I believe, to really access in a way that even begins to express all God is. And he wants that for you 1 trillion times more than even you do. And so the third thing that I want to share with you is that the provision always follows the action. Nowhere in the Bible does it show that God told someone to do something without providing for it. But here's the kicker: the provision always followed the step of obedient faith that they took as they believed God. You can look at every Bible character that there is, and that's the case. This follows after some of the things I was sharing earlier, but the nuance is that the road rises up to meet you. If you'll take whatever step of faith you can right now, even if it's a small one, God rallies all of heaven and earth to meet you as you trust him and step out on the water like Peter, or as you grab all those pots and pans in the house in obedience to the prophet's orders and watch as they're all filled to overflowing with oil, or as you quietly reach out to touch the hem of his garment, or even lower your sick friend through the hole in the roof. The biblical principle is always the same. God's provision always follows your faith-filled action and not before. So what does this have to do with songwriting? Well, I think that it has everything to do with songwriting, because so many of you listening long for a publisher to hear your work, thinking that a publisher will fix all your problems and discover you and make you a star. But let me tell you, God hasn't provided that yet, if he ever does. So the question is, what has God told you to do? What's the next faith step that he's asking of you before he makes that provision obvious to you? Well, very few songwriters that I've heard are ready for publishing. So a publisher would just dismiss you and not want to return your calls if you get into his office or email your songs, the songs that he doesn't think are professionally written and recorded. It'd be the worst thing that could happen for you instead of the best thing. The hardest meeting to get with a publisher is the second one. And as I quoted Chad Segura earlier, you want publishers knocking on your door and not the other way around. But if you invest in your songwriting and learn how it's really done by the professional songwriters that you know and love and listen to all the time, you can ramp up your songs and get them recorded the way they should be and begin to represent yourself to the world with excellence and creativity, and actually have a chance at getting a publisher's attention, or maybe not even needing one because your song's gone viral and you don't need one after all. You just never know how God can bless your steps if you'll just take some. I've always loved the verse in Psalm 37:23 that says, "The steps of a good man are ordered of the Lord." One version says that our steps are directed by the Lord, but he doesn't have any way to order or direct them if we're just sitting around waiting for him to do all of it for us. I'm a believer in co-creating with God, as the Apostle Paul said, but all I have to do is believe that he's going to meet me as I take the steps that I know and I feel in my heart. And he makes the road rise up to meet me. I love that. And I trust him to unfold all he has in mind for me. And I know that applies directly to you in your songwriting. Just trust that he's got your best interest in mind and that he's guiding you into greater understanding of all of your calling through all kinds of resources and people he's calling to come alongside you and support you, like we are through NCS Pro Song Mastery or my one-on-one coaching or our new artist development experience that will help you put everything in place that you need to launch your Christian artist career. It's all right here for you if you're willing to take the steps that you can to engage with God in your calling. So those are three powerful insights into fulfilling your calling: taking responsibility for yourself, tapping into hidden creativity, and taking action now, knowing that God will meet you every step of the way. Now you may be asking, well, how will that help people love my music more? Well, every bit of it applies directly to your songwriting success, because if you never own the responsibility, you'll never get out of fantasy land and you'll just remain paralyzed. If you're ignorant of the untapped resources of creativity that God's put in you, you'll never express anything original or unique or compelling, and you'll be ignored at best. And thirdly, if you don't take any steps, God has nothing to direct. So, responsibility, creativity, and action become the magic formula for success in anything you do in life, including songwriting and artistry. And God's not going to appear in your driveway and whisk you off to success. If he does, please call me so I can get in on some of that too. But that's why we're here at NCS. God's called us to come alongside you, to think differently, to help you to think differently, and take the action you need to fulfill your calling. I'm in production right now with songwriters and artists just like you who've stepped up to embrace who they are and tap into their creativity and take massive action to do this thing, and you can too. I hope that you'll shake yourself and wake yourself to all the possibilities that await you on the other side of fear and passivity. God wants you to use you more than you know, and that's how you can get people to love your music. Follow these insights and the education, the provision, the resources, and all of heaven and earth will flow to you to fulfill God's ultimate plan for your life. I hope you believe that, because I sure do. I'll see you next time.
Hey, thanks for joining us on the show today. I hope that you'll jump over to NashvilleChristianSongwriters.com and check out all the resources there to encourage you in your own songwriting. And if you like what we're doing, why not share this episode out on your socials? You can find the link in the show notes. We'll see you next time.